Contact. Morgan into Bush. Now trucks crashing along the outside wall. One truck spinning and crashing and tumbling from the tri-oval down towards turn number 1. Upside down, flames shooting from the machine as it's hit by another machine as a nasty crash in traffic in the tri-oval has put us under caution. The most seriously hurt machine was the Geoff Bodine truck, which went upside down, had the rear end housing ripped out of it, most of the sheet metal ripped off.
Coming down the front straightaway, a little tangle up with some trucks, and I ended up flying up in the fence about 109 miles an hour and flipped and ripped the front of the truck off. Engine flew down the track, ripped the top off the roll cage. The whole front was gone. Another truck ran into me, spun me around some more. Pretty spectacular wreck, but I'm very blessed to be alive. There's no question. You shouldn't have been able to survive that wreck. But the Lord reached down there, there's no question in my mind. He reached down there and protected me. And I'm still here, and I raced after that, and it's really a miracle that I've survived.
Well, we're with Todd Bodine. Todd, you've been over with your brother over at Halifax Hospital. Give us an update.
Brett and myself were standing on my motorhome in the infield in the driver's lot, watching the race. You know, Geoff was doing really well. And remember, you can't see the front straightaway in from the driver's lot. So we'd watch him come off of 4, and then we'd turn and we'd wait for him down for 1 and 2. And remember, all of a sudden it got quiet. We're like, oh boy, this is not good. And the motorhome that was next to us had their TV on outside the motorhome. We looked down and, oh man, that's a bad wreck. And that's somebody's hurt bad here. We knew it was going to be a while, so we climbed down and went over the TV, and we're trying to figure out who it is. And of course, there's nothing left of the truck. You can't see the truck. So then they said Geoff's name. And that's really probably the last thing I remember. I think we both went into shock, because we'd said right before that whoever's in that truck's dead. I mean, there's no way they survived this. I mean, this is the worst wreck ever in NASCAR history, if not, So went into shock, and I drove us over to the hospital. I think we went to the infield care center, and then they said they were going right to the hospital. We got in my car. I think it was my car. I don't really remember much of this that well, and drove us over to the hospital, and just me and Brett. By the time we got over there, well, I think our wives were with us. By the time we got over there, he was already there and already been checked out, and of course we're white as a ghost, ready to cry. And the doctor comes out and he says, "You guys want to talk to him?" We're like, "Are you kidding me? He's okay?" The doctor, "Yep, nothing wrong with him. Not a broken bone, nothing." But he said, "I'm going to warn you, he looks ugly." And of course, sigh of relief. My God, Lord was looking after us here. Went in there to see him, and I'm not kidding you, there was not one single part of his body that wasn't black and blue. It was the awfulest thing I've ever seen, the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I mean, not one part of his body, his cheeks, his eyes were just black and blue all around his eyes, his forehead. I mean, his ears were discolored, and then you could see a little of his chest. He pulled the thing down, and his chest and his arms, everything's black and blue. It's like, my God, I mean, that had to hurt. And so after I saw him, I went out and I dealt with the press. And of course, there's a big bunch of press there, and praise the Lord, he was fine. I couldn't believe it. So we got lucky there.
That move on the front straightaway, I was right in the middle of going in the middle lane through the tri-oval, and one of the guys, either I changed lanes or he came down a little bit, and then Bodine ended up in the worst spot. What a horrific crash, and it changed the course of the way that the trucks were looked at in Daytona, and I'm just glad everybody was okay from that wreck, and we got minimal damage and came back and finished second in my first ever truck race. It's pretty wild.